So how exactly does a massive economic hub keep its financial system safe, secure, and, well, clean? Today, we're going to crack open the rulebook designed to do just that for India's global financial gateway, the IFSCA's KYC rules.
I mean, really think about that for a second. We're talking about billions of dollars zipping across borders every single day. So how do you make sure that money is legit? How do you stop the bad stuff, funds from crime or terrorism, without totally jamming up the works for legitimate business? That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
And the main stage for all of this action is the International Financial Services Center, the IFSC. It's built for speed. It's built for global business. But to protect its integrity, to make sure people can trust it, regulators have a really powerful first line of defense. It's a set of rules you've probably heard of, KYC, or Know Your Customer.
So here's our game plan. We're going to peel back the layers of these regulations. First, we'll talk about why KYC is even a thing. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the due diligence process. After that, we'll see how it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. We'll zoom in on high-risk clients. And finally, we'll see why this is a cycle that never, ever stops.
Okay, let's start with the basics. Why all the fuss about KYC? You know, it's so important to understand that this isn't just about filling out forms and bureaucratic paperwork. No, it's a critical security measure. It's like the alarm system for the entire financial ecosystem.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The goal isn't just to check a box that says you know a customer's name and address. The real point of the IFSCA's KYC guidelines is to figure out the risk of things like money laundering or terrorist financing. It's a huge shift from just basic identification to genuinely understanding who you're in business with.
So that brings us to the how. How do banks and financial institutions actually do all this? Well, the whole process is built around one central concept, customer due diligence, or CDD.
You can think of CDD as the engine room of KYC. This is not optional. It is the mandatory, non-negotiable process that every single regulated entity in the IFSC has to follow to really, truly know who they're dealing with.
Now, the official playbook from the IFSCA guidelines breaks this all down into 4 very clear steps. First, you identify the customer. Simple enough. Second, you have to find the beneficial owner, and that just means the actual person who's really profiting from all this, not just some shell company name. Third, you've got to understand why they're doing business in the first place. And finally, and this is a big one, this is not a one-and-done check. You have to be continuously monitoring what they're doing.
But here's where the system gets really smart. KYC isn't just a blunt instrument. It's more like a finely tuned tool. The IFSCA actually requires what's called a risk-based approach. That means the level of scrutiny totally changes depending on who the customer is. In practice, this spectrum of scrutiny works kind of like this. For a low-risk client, let's say a big, well-known public company, the process is simplified. It's more streamlined. But for a high-risk client, whoa, the intensity gets cranked way up. That's called enhanced due diligence. And that means asking for a lot more info, like where their money came from, demanding more frequent updates, and keeping a much, much closer eye on every transaction.
So you're probably wondering what kind of client automatically gets you into that high-risk enhanced scrutiny club. Well, there's a specific category of people who always get some special attention.
We're talking about politically exposed persons, or PEPs. These are folks in really prominent public roles. You know, senior politicians, top government officials, high-ranking military officers. Because of their position and their influence, they're just considered to be at a higher risk for potential involvement in stuff like bribery and corruption.
And for these individuals, the rules are incredibly strict. I mean, to even open an account, you need approval from the senior management. Institutions have to dig deep to figure out the source of their wealth. And their business relationship is under a constant high-powered microscope. And get this intense scrutiny doesn't just apply to them. It also extends to their family members and their close associates.
So this brings us to our last and honestly maybe the most important point of all. KYC is not a one-time event. You don't just do it when someone signs up and then file it away and forget about it. No, it's a living, breathing process.
It really is a relationship that needs regular check-ins. You have to make sure the information you have is still right and that their risk profile hasn't changed. I mean, think about it. A customer who was low risk 5 years ago might be in a totally different situation today.
And the guidelines are crystal clear about how often these check-ins need to happen. High-risk customers, their information has to be refreshed at least once a year.
For medium risk, it's every 3 years, and for your low-risk customers, it's every 5 years. It's like a built-in calendar reminder that keeps the whole system up to date.
And just in case you think these are just friendly suggestions, they are not. This quote right here shows you just how serious the consequences are. If an institution can't finish its verification within 120 days, it doesn't say it should or might act, it says it shall terminate the business relationship. These rules have some serious teeth.
So as we wrap this up, it kind of leaves us with this big, fascinating question, right? In a world that's all about financial speed and innovation, do regulations like these KYC guidelines just act as a roadblock, slowing everything down? Or are they the essential guardrails that keep the entire system from flying off a cliff? From everything we've seen, it feels like they're the absolute foundation of trust that makes a global financial hub work in the first